Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to another fantastic episode of Foxborough Central. I am Bob Hickey. I am your host. And I'm so glad that you have taken the time to join us as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. This episode is going to be a special one. It's going to be interesting, and I hope you find it not only entertaining, but also something where we all learn something. Perhaps you've noticed we are live in Technicolor tonight. It's not by any accident. It is because we are going to be exploring some different things. And so my two guests tonight, I have I'm going to call them a shaman and a medium. Is that fair enough?
Yeah. Fair enough.
Shaman. Awesome, shaman. Thank you very much. I'm from Virginia, and sometimes it doesn't come out right, so my apologies. We'll start with you. Our shaman is Carla Pineda. Pineda, how are you doing? So nice of you to join us here on Foxborough Central. And our psychic medium, how are you doing, Jenny?
I'm doing great,
It's
Bob.
Jenny Weeks. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So you have come to us because you are passionate about what you do. You have a gift, and we're going to learn about it. So I'm going to ask you, who should go first?
Well, she brought the color, but
by all means.
All right, okay.
Jenny.
So this is what we do.
So you are a psychic medium.
I am a psychic medium.
So let's start off with telling us what exactly that is and how do we get here?
Okay, so a psychic medium is someone who uses psychic gifts. So we have the five senses, and some of mine are a little bit more developed than others. So I've had these gifts since I was a little girl. And a medium is someone who acts as a medium between the living and the dead. So there you have it, psychic medium.
So, and I have to ask this because I remember when I was a child growing up, I would think I knew things. For some reason, molecules always seemed to me I could sense molecules. And I knew it was just nonsense because I just learned about molecules, and so I was probably just a kid thinking about molecules. How does one as a child get the sense that they have psychic ability?
You don't know it's a psychic ability. You think all the other kids can do the same thing. I'm also gifted. I can speak with animals like Dr. Dolittle. It's a little crazy, but when I was in kindergarten, I thought everybody could talk to Chico the dog or, Spot the cat. So you don't know. You just think everyone can do it until you mention it to someone else and they laugh at you.
Until you find out that what you have is a special gift.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
That does make absolute sense because how do we know we're special until we find out?
Right.
Oh, what I can do is something that not other people can do. Have you met other people that can do this, who have this gift, who have this ability?
Absolutely. And you know what? More people have it developed than you realize. People who have anxiety attacks a lot of times are feeling the energy from other people. You go into a store and you have a panic attack in a big department store at the holidays. You're feeling overwhelmed or you have to leave, just you don't know why.
Isn't that interesting?
Because you're an empath. Remember Star Trek with Deanna Troi, the empath?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Everybody had a little crush on her. Everybody wanted to be the empath, and that's being empathic. Yeah. So when people say you're oversensitive, you're really picking up on others' vibes.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that must be at times scary and at times empowering.
Both. You're absolutely right, and it can be a blessing and a curse. So, when you sense danger, you can get the heck out of Dodge and avert it. But at the same time, if you try to warn people and they don't listen, what is it?
Interesting.
When I was a kid, when I was in my teens, I had a dream that I was falling out of the sky, strapped in a plane seat with flames all around me, and I saw the Tower of London and London Bridge. And then 2 weeks later, the plane was shot down over Lockerbie. So that was one of my earliest that I remember that was that vivid. So it happens.
And those are the things we remember, powerful memories. So, and of course, we are going to speak with both Jenny and Carla as we go through the program, and we have a lot to get to. So I'm going to try to keep moving. But I do want to remind everybody that Jenny is by trade. This is what you do.
Absolutely.
And so you can follow her on Facebook. I'm going to give all that information in a little bit, so be sure to get your pencils ready. Before we do that, of course, we're going to talk to Carla. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
And you are a shaman?
Yes.
And I apologize, I'm not the most diverse person. What is a shaman?
So a shaman, it's a word that can be put on people who are like the medicine men, medicine women of their community.
Okay.
It goes back to ancient times, and it's really a way of life as I see it. where you commune with nature and use the elements, you communicate with animals, plants, and all that to reach altered states of awareness where you can heal people on an energetic level as well as a physical level.
Okay, so shaman, and again, I hope I'm not treading down a cultural path that I ought not to, but I'm an ugly American, and I will just ask.
No, go ahead.
So is this similar to Medicine Man, or is
Yes.
this along a different path?
Yes, so it
And
like,
staying away, by the way, from the several Star Trek references I can make also. We're gonna stick in the real world here.
yes.
I think that's the
So-
fairest way to do this. So.
So basically, it's basically, like I said, like the medicine men and medicine women of a certain community. And for example, I come from, I'm a descendant of the Mayans.
Okay.
My grandfather is full-blooded Mayan. And then I come from a whole line of shamans, healers, gypsies, tarot readers, and all that. So
Okay.
I have it from all sides of my family.
So is this something where, and I can't imagine this to be the case, so this is a softball question, something where you just wake up one morning and say, I'm tired of working at the payroll company, I'm going to become a shaman, or is
It's
this
kind
more
of-
of a calling?
It's funny that you just asked me that. It is definitely a calling. It's something that comes to you, and people have been asking me actually recently, because I just did a huge event, my first group event for Shamanic healing journey at Thrive Tribe in Rhode Island. And everybody's asking me, how did you learn this? Where did you go? What teacher? And they're ready to jot down a name. And yes, you can go to a guru. You can go to Machu Picchu and get, a shaman to initiate you. However, I've been initiated since I was born because I was born into it. However, I did actually leave the psych field that I worked in for 13 years in January.
Don't tell me you want to become a payroll administrator.
And I just happened to be at the cemetery with her one day. And I won't go too much into it because it's a very personal experience, but I did have sort of, you would call it a download of information where I was basically told this is the path that you need to take on now.
Okay.
So,
So this is a calling for
Yes,
both of you,
absolutely.
and you are confident that what you're bringing to the table is something that people need. That it's not
Yes.
it's not something you can just find anywhere, that you have a gift and you're willing and wanting to share it, which is very nice. Excellent. So I'm again speaking with Carla Pinata and Jenny Weeks. Jenny is with the International Psychic. She is the International Psychic Medium and Animal Communicator. She can be reached at psychicjenny.com. You'll notice why I didn't do the www before that, because I'm getting better at this. Of course, then I had to mention it, so I'm not that good at it. But anyway, on Facebook and Instagram, it's Mystic Jenny Weeks, or at JWeeks629. That's her Twitter feed. And you can also find her YouTube channel, which is really interesting, and I'm sure it's well worth your taking a look at it. Jenny Weeks International Psychic Medium. It's a lot of words. Don't worry, I'll be flashing them back up on the screen again, so no worries about that. Also, Carla has some great contact information also. Rebel for the Light. And I'm going to ask you about that in a second, but that's her Facebook as well as her Instagram handle. So you can find her at Rebel for the Light. So Carla, what does that mean? Everything has meaning.
well, yes. Again, around the same time. Probably like around March, I'd say. I had a lot of stuff going on where I was trying to figure out what directions to take, and I actually changed my
I'm
business
52 years
name.
old, and I'm still trying to figure out the direction I'm going to take. So.
Right? It's a journey. So I just always felt like I had this passion to say the truth in any way that it needs to come out in, and without holding back. And so I needed to communicate that by being kind of like a rebel, but also being a rebel for the light means that I'm fighting for the good and trying to spread the word of all the good that there can be in the world. So.
That can get you in trouble sometimes, can't it?
Yes.
It's not the easiest thing for people to hear, things they don't want to hear, or
Partly
people coming in.
why I kind of left my job behind and started this. I would say it's my calling. So.
Excellent. Well, you know what? It's wonderful to be able to grab your passion and
Absolutely.
turn it into something that's going to sustain you as
Yes.
well as help you emotionally
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
pardon the expression, but psychically be fulfilled. So good for you for doing that and taking that risk. That's what it's all about, right? Well, we're happy to spread the word. So, of course, folks at home, I've already given you the contact information, but Carla is also a Reiki master?
Reiki master.
I'm not saying anything right tonight,
It's
am
okay. I'm sure in Japanese it's a little different than Reiki, but Reiki, yes.
And also spiritual coach. So if we could
Yes.
just touch on that real quickly, what is a Reiki master?
So Reiki master is one of the highest levels. After that is master teacher, but it's one of the higher levels of being a Reiki practitioner. And it's basically you're an energy worker. Jenny is one as well. And you do basically the same things as I would say like a shaman does. However, it's just a different modality. So it comes from the Japanese tradition, from the originator, Master Usui, in Japan. It was like the 1920s.
Well, earlier than that, the 1800s actually, and then it came.
Yeah,
from
and
Japan.
then it came from Japan to the United States.
But Reiki is like life force, so
Yes.
like almost like Chi and Rei. Okay, so it's basically channeling the energy of the universe through you, through your hands, and then channeling that energy. And the Reiki, the life force, goes wherever it's needed into the person or the animal. And it can also be done from a distance. The person does not have to be present, which is
Really?
great. Yeah.
So this can be done by telephone, television, what?
Yeah, when I do it, I message the client. I make sure that they're lying down with a big glass of water, and I'll send them a text, and I'll say, I'm starting now. I've already prepared, and I actually begin for that half hour. And you don't need to be there because it's energy. There's no time, there's no space. It's just, it is. So if you get in the now, right now. And they actually feel the benefits of it.
So with this, and I'll say it's ability and a gift, but also you have to master it. And if you're a master at that level, you've learned, how does one learn how to harness this? Electricity in lightning form is phenomenal, it's powerful, but it's not very usable.
Right.
It's actually dangerous. How do you channel this and turn it into good? I'm going to ask you both the same question.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, the way I learned it was I had a teacher who actually came to me and saw something in me that she felt would be something that in a way that I could use Reiki to help people. And so I studied with her. I did level 1 and 2. And then I started level 3, and then we kind of fell off a little bit. So Jenny, being a Reiki master herself, attuned me and finished so that I could be a Reiki master. And the way we can harness it to help people, I just feel like we're already kind of like antennas, if you think about it. Like she was talking about being an empath.
That's really interesting. Okay.
So that's a good analogy. So it's like we're an antenna and we're already receiving all this energy. So if you then harness it and you basically consciously use it to direct it towards somebody to heal them, then technically everybody can do Reiki. You just have to know consciously what you're doing.
Okay. Interesting. And how did you get channeled?
Well, sort of the same scenario. When you become a Reiki level 1 or 2, you go to someone who is a master teacher, and you learn the principles of Reiki, and then they attune you.
Okay.
So they give you the symbols, and they open you up to do that. And then it's basically handing the channel on from one to the next, but it has to be done a certain way.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Well, interesting you mentioned that, because it does, I would assume it would have to be done a certain way, because anything good used incorrectly, Tylenol, aspirin, can be dangerous, harmful.
Exactly.
So what kind of responsibility does this really, I mean, when you do these things, how do you process that piece of it? You know, I've got something I'm doing, but what if I do it wrong? How does that all work?
That's a very good question, because there is that responsibility, and that's why we prepare beforehand, because you are taking a person's life into your hands. If you are having a bad day and you're channeling and you're not doing it correctly and you're trying to send Reiki or do Reiki, you can put some bad vibes into a person and really mess them up. So it really takes responsibility. You know, you've got to really be on your game. And that's the same thing for when I speak with the dead. When I do a reading, I'll do card readings or I'll read someone. It's the same thing, because I have to make sure I'm on my game. Because you may take what I'm saying and you may take it by the book or you may disregard it. But I have to make sure that I give you what I'm getting correctly. Because you could go out and change your whole life based on what I say or don't say.
Yeah, so we have to be prepared. So, like if I'm about to do a shamanic session like I did, I'm not going to do things that will stress me out or in any way make me be in a state of chaos, because then I'm basically putting that out into everybody. So you do have that big responsibility to make sure that you're okay. So in a sense, as a healer, you have to make sure you're okay and you're healed and you're taking care of yourself. So it's like a lesson in self-love and awareness for yourself too.
That's really interesting, because I suppose just as a police officer is really never allowed to have a bad day, because they're always under the microscope and every decision they make is life or death. Same would, I imagine, go with you. You can't walk into a session or a presentation, or if you're doing a class, and you can't come in with a bad sense of who you are or bad things happening, because that would transfer out. But then how do you deal with it yourself? I'll give you an example. My father was a psychologist, but he went for therapy every week himself. So how do you, what's your happy space? What makes you go?
Well, you know.
Aside from the Patriots winning, but that's
right.
okay.
Yay, go Patriots. Meditation, seriously doing a lot of release work and letting it go, because we can pick up that energy as well. And when you're dealing with, so speaking with the dead, you're doing a lot of healing. Sometimes they're asking for forgiveness, and the person, you know, you're giving them closure. So it's meditation, spending time with pups, being outside, and being away from people, believe it or not, for me anyway. It's really detoxing, letting the earth take care of everything else.
Yes. For me, definitely, you can find me at the cemetery or a place of nature where it's very soothing and calm. And I like to literally take my shoes off and get in touch with nature and feel nature on my feet. And I climb trees, I do all these things because I'm a part of this world. And so I feel like if I'm touching nature, if I'm in it and I'm in reverence of it, it's also giving back to me in that way by calming me and soothing me and also healing me. Like just a breeze. I could just sit there in a breeze and feel great, you know, after something maybe bad happened, because I know the wind is intelligent. To me, that's what I feel.
I don't know if this is even a question that makes sense, but do you, in order to help others heal, do you have to take on a certain part of their pain or a certain part of their experience? And does that become part of how you work through it? Is it more of the person has to do their own release and you're helping them guide through it?
So I would say that you
Or am I
definitely...
talking utter nonsense?
No,
you're
that's
not.
actually
Okay.
a very good
All right.
question.
I mean, it's a good conversation. I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Because Jenny was talking about being an empath. So you do have to have that level of sensing the person and sensing their energy. However, you do have to be able to step back. And my teacher, when I was first learning Reiki, taught us that you want to get the judge out of the room. So you're being your own judge. So let's say I'm about to do Reiki on somebody I know they just went through a horrible heartache or loss.
Okay.
You know, I'm not going to sit there and sob on them because I feel for them, but I will feel for them in a way, but I know that what I'm doing is completely separate from what they're experiencing, and I'm just the conduit of that energy, you know, that loving energy. And I want them to heal, so I feel for them, but I'm not going to also get caught up in their feeling, because then what I'm doing is absorbing their pain, and then I get sick. So that's how that works.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It sounds like you're well in touch with what you're doing and who you are. I'm, of course, speaking with Carla Panada and with Jenny Weeks. Carla can be reached on Instagram or Facebook at Rebel for the Light. It's very interesting to hear how we got to that Rebel for the Light moniker. And also, you're on everything, Instagram and Facebook at Mystic Jenny Weeks. She's Twitter at JWeeks629, YouTube at Jenny Weeks International Psychic Medium. And I do want to talk about, if it's all right if I change gears a little bit.
Sure.
Animals.
Yes.
I used to have a dog named Lucky. I loved Lucky. Lucky was a great dog for 13 years. How do you become an animal communicator? And it seems as though we've got a lot going on, but that's a whole nother piece that is fascinating to me. So
It's. Can I just tell you, it's like crazy. When I alluded to it earlier, I used to be able to talk to my grandmother's dog, Chico, right? And so I thought everybody could. And when you start to hear words in your mind and the dog walks by, you're like, and it just happens naturally. So when I talk about animal communication, if you give me a name or a photo, I'll just tune right in. I'll ask you, so when I'm working with finding lost pets, I'll ask the human to visualize in their mind my face so that they talk to the pet, wherever the pet is, and tell them I'm safe, and then I'm sent to help them get home. It's kind of crazy, but pets talk in visions. So we know that we learn in visions when we that's why visualizations are so important. It's the same kind of thing we're creating. So the universe works in images, and so that's how it is when you talk to an animal. So if you're outside, and so let's say you miss Lucky, sometimes you can feel Lucky. Lucky's still around, so don't.
Well, poor Lucky, I think he probably only had two things to say to me. One, squirrel, and the other one was feed me.
Yeah,
So,
all right,
Lucky,
so he's
Lucky was a
hanging around.
wonderful dog, but he was very simple to get along with. So.
Well, some dogs are very, very easy.
He's a good dog.
Some dogs are easy.
Like my dog.
Yeah, some animals are really complicated, and like some are.
My little dog Moose, she tried to communicate with him because he always seems very anxious. So I asked her to communicate with him and tap in, and she's like, "There's not a lot going on there." He's literally just like life, just walking around. And then there's my other dog who's very deep, and I just feel like she's always in thought.
Yeah.
She's very empathic too. It's the funniest thing. I mean,
Interesting.
it sounds crazy, but it's true.
Because that is interesting, because we always, with Lucky, we always just figured, he's just a happy dog.
Just a happy
Yeah.
dog, nothing else
Happy
going
dog.
on,
Like
and
good
that's
boy,
okay.
and he's
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's and so other dogs are like. There was one dog that was ill, and the mom got in touch with me to see if it was time to make the decision or not. And he actually lived a couple more years because he wasn't ready to go. And the first thing that he did when I touched in with him, I kind of jumped in him, and so I'm running up to her and I'm jumping on her chest, and I'm on the phone with her, and I'm like, okay, I'm talking to, I don't want to name his, let's say I'm talking to
Sure.
Spot. I'm talking to Spot, and this is going to sound so creepy, and don't think it's weird, but I feel like I'm just running on you and jumping on your chest and just hugging you. She starts sobbing on the phone, telling me that's what he used to do before he got sick. And I said, he's letting you know. He's still in there. He's not ready to go, so don't make the decision yet. And she found different meds for him, and he lived another couple of years. So
Wow.
they, if you let them and give them the chance, they'll tell you if they want to go or not.
Powerful.
Yeah, it is.
So, animal whispering and
It's finding them.
communicating, and people and animals, dead people.
I speak to dead people. Yeah, yeah.
Do you mind if we touch on that for a little bit?
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
I don't want to go down any paths we ought not to. Before every show, I say, I don't know exactly where the paths we're going to go, but it's going to be a great map to a good place. Just want to make sure we're still going to a good place. So.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place because that gives me besides the animals, that gives me the most joy. There are a lot of people who've passed who didn't get to say what they needed to say. And there are a lot of people who are still alive who didn't get to say what they need to say. So when I'm able to connect, and I cannot guarantee that it will happen every time, but it has never not happened. So I'll say that.
Interesting.
I'll say that.
You provide the proviso, but at the same time, you've had a high level of success.
Yes, and it's a wonderful thing because there are people, I ask that no one tells me how they passed. So if there's someone that you ever wanted to talk to, don't tell me. And so that's their way. I feel how they passed. So I'll feel the heart attack, I'll feel the cancer, I'll feel whatever it might be, or I'll see I'm in a hospital bed, and then they'll know, okay, that was Grandma, that was Aunt Betty, whoever it might be, and then we go from there. And then they'll have their messages, and there's usually crying involved, but it's a beautiful healing experience, and there's nothing like it. That gives me the most joy.
Wow. Okay, so I now always ask this because there's a reason why we all do what we want to do. Is because it fulfills us psychically as well as financially. So how do you live? How do you make this work? Do people contact you? Do you do readings? Do you have shows? What's your special way of sharing?
So for me, like I said, I just did my first group shamanic session. So what that entails is I worked with the owners at Thrive Tribe, Rhode Island,
Okay.
and I held a group healing session. So everybody comes in, brings their yoga mat, their blanket, gets cozy, and then I'm at the head of the room, and I'm, going through some visualization, some breath work. I do my drumming with my native drum. And that's one of the aspects. I also do individual sessions at my office, and then Jenny does a lot of remote stuff too.
And where's your office located? What
I
town?
have it in my own home
I mean, what town?
in Rumford, Rhode Island.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And I do a lot actually over the phone, believe it or not. If you're local, southeastern New England, I'll
Okay.
drive to you. Actually, I also do some psychic fairs. I'll do psychic parties. I'll go into your home. People will get together and they'll have, instead of a party,
Sure.
they'll eat and munch and they'll have that. Or I'll do mediumship galleries, private ones, small ones, up to 6 people. So you can get the information on my website, and you can go through PayPal. You can do all kinds of stuff. So
Outstanding.
make it easy.
Okay, so I warned you this was going to happen. The time has flown, and we're already done with a half hour. So I'm going to give you each the last word. But I'm going to remind everybody at home that I'm speaking with these two wonderful people. I've learned a lot, and I hope you have also. Don't let doubts interfere with accepting new opportunities to learn. That's what I always say, and what I think we have here is learn about two great people. Carla Panada is a shaman, a Reiki master, and a spiritual coach. She can be reached on Instagram or Facebook by going to Rebel for the Light. Rebel for the Light, that's how to get a hold of Carla. You can get a hold of Jenny Weeks, with international psychic medium and animal communicator. That's who she is. On Instagram or Facebook at Mystic Jenny Weeks. Her website is Psychic Jenny. That's JENNY.com. PsychicJenny.com. Her Twitter handle is at JWeeks629. You can also get her on YouTube. Follow her channel. Like her channel, be a follower, subscriber, right? Be a subscriber. Be a subscriber. Jenny Weeks, International Psychic Medium. And of course, if you missed any of this information, you can always log back onto our YouTube channel here at Foxborough Central. And I know you are all already following us, and if you're not, please do. Also, we are on the web at www.fcatv.org, and that's, of course, in addition to being on your favorite Foxborough cable access channels right here. So, Carla, I'm going to ask you if you could give us the last word for your half of the last word.
I just want to say thank you for having us, and also to everybody out there, just make sure that you don't forget about your inner world. There's a lot going on in it, and always respect nature and commune, because nature is always there to heal us.
Excellent. I love it. Jenny?
Thank you again for having us. Everybody, I want everybody to know that there is a world beyond. There is life after death. Our loved ones are still with us. And never be afraid to ask, never be afraid to doubt, because we've been to the moon. Everything's possible. So just remember that. Don't take no for an answer. Everything is here at your feet, at your fingertips. Ask. Seek us out. We're here to help.
Thank you so much. Jenny and Carla, thank you so much for being
you.
on our show. And thank you, everybody, for being with us here on Foxborough Central. On behalf of all of us here at FCA TV, including my camera operators, Michael Stewart, Deb Storrs, and May Travers, Alex Peary, and Paul Beck in the booth, Michael Weber, our executive director, and Lauren Batar, who puts us on the air. I'm Bob Hickey, your host, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care, Foxborough.